O'clock, and it is chemistry time, so let's go ahead and get going. I am, I think, not going to do a head count and all that today yet. I'll just hold off on that, and we'll just go ahead and get started. So again, if you have your TAN coupon, that is your textbook coupon. What you'll be using for a book is a textbook that I've used for a number of years now. And rather than have you guys shell out the $180 for the brand new latest and greatest, I found it works pretty well to just reuse them. So it's kind of high school style, but I don't think most of you will want this book for particularly any purpose after you're done with the class anyway. So I think it works pretty good, and it saves a ton of money. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the other things that we've used that you had to buy there, because maybe it felt a little bit weird, you know, shelling out $100 for no books. But we'll get you there at some point. Let's see. So let me talk about the class first for a little bit, and I'll talk about me, and I'll talk about what that woman is doing back in the corner in a little bit. But that is Karen, so you can say hi to Karen. But I'll explain her in a minute. And let's go ahead and get going. So this class is Chemistry 103. A lot of you, how many of you had Bio 103? Mike, welcome. Grab a seat. How many of you had Bio 103 last semester? A lot of you probably will. This kind of feeds into that course, particularly if you're in the nursing program or applying to the nursing program, and that's kind of intentional. This is really almost in sequence with that class. So many of you probably are interested in nursing, or maybe some other allied health fields. Is really what this course was designed to do. So if that is you, then you're in the right spot. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me for a little bit, and then I'll get some feedback on you guys. My name is Mike Pickard. Most people call me Dr. Pickard. I'm okay if you call me Mike too. It's fine either way. I've taught here for, I think this is my 16th year, so I've done 15 years now. Last year at this time, the first day of class was a snow day, I believe, right? As I was looking back over my notes from last year for this class, it took me a while to figure out why I didn't have any notes from the first day, and then I realized. So here we are. It's actually looking kind of pretty out. Locally, high schools and whatnot do have the day off today. They have the snow day, but you guys are tougher than that, so that's cool. I moved here, myself and my wife and our two older kids moved here from Maryland, from just outside of D.C., because I worked at the National Institutes of Health. Before that, I have a PhD in biochemistry from U of M, and before that I went to undergraduate at Calvin College, so go Knights, just kidding. I grew up, this is where I grew up. I grew up in, well, not even really a town, called Rehoboth, New Mexico. It's outside of Gallup on the west side of the state of New Mexico. I think the house I grew up in is probably right back in there. And this was summer before last. We try to get back there every once in a while because a bunch of my family still lives there. Where it is a lot sunnier, probably right now, than it is today. So I kind of, I do miss that, although it looks like it might get a little sunny out today. So that's me. This is the obligatory Christmas gathering around the tree from a few weeks ago. So that is me, my wife, Chris, our two older kids. You might recognize Nick is a junior here at Hope, and Karis is a first-year student living in Dykstra. So I will at some point have to probably not show so many pictures of my kids because it might be embarrassing, but there they are. Just don't tell them. Kate is a 9th grader now in high school, and Ben just turned 10, and he is a 4th grader. And we all like to start out with family shots, but I want to talk a little bit more about my family and my background, and sort of how that relates to this class, and why I teach this class, and what I hope you guys get out of this class. So as I said, Ben, my youngest, is 10. He just turned 10. Both boys have the unfortunate circumstance of having their birthday within about 2 days of Christmas, one way or the other. But This was Ben a little over 3 years ago. in the fall of 2011, so this was November of 2011. He was not feeling so good. All these stories seem to start out the same way. He was not feeling so good, and we took him to his doctor, and his doctor said, you guys have to go over to Grand Rapids and go to the Helen DeVos Children's Hospital to the hematology-oncology unit up there. So we did that. And this was that day or the next day, and as a result of some blood tests and some testing, it turned out that he had leukemia. Leukemia is a type of cancer. It's the most common type of cancer in children. In most cases, leukemia now, whereas 30, 40 years ago it was almost invariably fatal, leukemia now tends to be fairly treatable. Although as he started his treatment, we realized that the type of leukemia that he had was a little bit more resistant to treatment and was going to be harder to take care of. So it seemed to be the right thing to do to get him ready for a bone marrow transplant, which is when you replace, leukemia is a cancer of the blood, and so a bone marrow transplant means you replace your entire blood system with somebody else's. This was a little bit into treatment. Ben's hair came out as it tends to. Us boys also shaved off our heads. I thought Nick looked pretty good. I just looked bald. And that was as we were working to the bone marrow transplant with that, and really it was so 3 years ago, just a few days after Christmas, we found out as a result of some testing that Ben and his sister had the same tissue type, and that she would be a suitable marrow donor for him. So that is Karis. She's always a little embarrassed about this photo, but I am super proud of her. For that. That is June 25th of 2012. We spent about 6 months sort of getting him ready for the transplant, including radiation. This picture down in the lower left is the radiation facility in the basement of the Holton Lemon Cancer building downtown Grand Rapids, to kill off all of his leukemia cells and all of his own blood cells in the process. And then on June 25th, I brought Karis in super early in the morning to the surgical facility at Spectrum. She had broken her ankle the week before, so she had to go into anesthesia with the big old boot cast on her ankle. And so she was put under general anesthesia, and the physician assistant spent about an hour with a big old needle going into the top of her two pelvic bones, or one pelvic bone, but each half of the pelvic crest up there, and harvested out almost a liter of bone marrow out of that, and that went into Ben later that day, and that took about a month or so to grow back. But this was him really his first day then outside after about a month or so in the hospital, looking pretty good with Karis on that June day. So. That's a little bit of what I bring to this. I just want to show you some of the interactions that we were able to have with the staff and some of the nurses and the techs at that time. Up here, this is my head, and those are my hands, and this is a wonderful nurse who has been nursing in HEMONC for longer than I should really say. But one of the things we had to do was give Ben some injections at home, and I had to figure out how to do that, so I practiced on her. So one day she's like, okay, here you go, Mike. You got to give me this sub-Q shot right here. It didn't really hurt that much. I thought I had it pretty good. I think she's faking it. Right there. These folks are the sedation and anesthesia team. So that's Ben getting ready for probably a bone marrow biopsy at some point. This is, let's see, he's a social worker. She was a fellow. She's now an attending physician at DeVos Children's in, I think, that probably was Ben's bone marrow transplant room. Lots of Legos got him through that. Another RN in the room here. Laura is a tech, nursing tech. You can always tell. So at Spectrum, the RNs wear dark blue, and the techs wear maroon, which is awesome because when you guys are real nursing students, Hope students get to wear blue, and Calvin students have to wear maroon. So you guys look like the real deal. This is Karis. There's a big old boot cast, getting some of the preliminary stuff done. This is her. So these are two RNs and a PA, I think. And this is her. That's her bone marrow. That is the sample that was taken out. It's about double when you give blood. That's about twice that much, which is, it looks just like whole blood, but it's not peripheral blood. It's out of that pelvis again, and that is what went back into Ben. So just wonderful people, and what I really, one of my favorite pictures really is this one down in the lower right here. That's Ben. Kids and adults that are in treatment for a long time typically get, rather than have to have peripheral IVs all the time, they'll install a central venous catheter. So this is a portacath, where there's sort of a little access underneath the skin, which means that you're not always looking for a vein. You just go right in. But it does require a poke. It's implanted under the skin, and so this is Ben. I think fairly early on in treatment. And this is Annie, one of the RNs, and she's scrubbing them up a little bit there, and she is going to access that port. Just take one of those butterfly needles and poke that in there, and that's going to be used. That was probably for treatment, some chemo or something like that, for that day. And kids don't like it. It is a poke, not quite as bad as digging around for a vein there, but it's a poke, and it kind of hurts, and a lot of kids sort of don't look forward to that. But what occurs to me about this picture that we grabbed one day is you can see, we did warn her, so we don't go around sneaking up on people and taking pictures. But you can see Ben, and you can see where he's looking, and he's looking right at her. And he knows that he's about to stab her with this poke thing, and it's going to be kind of crappy, and it's going to hurt. But and he's a little worried about it. But I think if you can see, his eyes looking at her, and what she's doing for him is making that so that it's okay for him to do that, and he knows that even though it's going to hurt, she's got him, and it'll be okay to do that. And that kind of really, to me, exemplifies what is, I think, pretty cool about all of these folks that we got to know, and hopefully at some point maybe true of some of you guys. One of the things we got to do this past fall, so here I think this is all of us again. There's me and Chris, let's see, Nick, Karis, Kate, Ben's best buddy Atif, and along with this are half a dozen junior and senior nursing students. So these are students who sat in this class 2 or 3 years ago. I think I had all of them for this chemistry class. So Ashley, and who is that, Catherine, and Brooke, and a few other folks. Because we get to be the nursing department's miracle family for dance marathon. It's going to be awesome. So they took us out on a little bowling date over at BAM one day. So hopefully you guys can interact with Ben maybe at some point, at least at dance marathon, if not before that. So that'll be then. But these folks were doing what you were doing right now, just a couple years ago. And now I see them in their nice bright blue uniforms. Sometimes over there I still volunteer at DeVos Children's. I go to the Hemont Clinic and help out with playroom and little kids and washing up stuff and that kind of thing. So it's pretty cool to see that happening. And my hope is that this might be something that you might see yourself doing in a few years, maybe with kids, maybe with really sick kids, maybe with healthy kids, maybe with older people, maybe with grown-ups, but whatever that might be. That you'll be able to be, maybe this person to somebody at some point in the future. It's hard to do. It's not easy. It's physically demanding and emotionally demanding. But if you see yourself as doing that, we should go ahead and get to it and get started on that. I know sometimes the chemistry part of it sort of can seem a little bit, why am I doing this? I wish I had a good answer for that in every case. We do sort of the Bio 103, the chemistry, get you going on the basic sciences a little bit first, and hopefully this will at some point lay the groundwork for that. I can tell you that of the Hope nursing grads that I have met up at DeVos, none of them remember anything very specific from chemistry, except the one lab where we make soap. For some reason, that's a memorable one. But I think it does plug into at least a sort of basic knowledge for as you go on into other things. And for me, I had taught this course for years before that, and then all of a sudden, for me, having been in treatment, made it very real. For me, it makes me feel a real special pride and privilege in being able to teach this course to you guys, who will, many of you, be that next generation of nurses and techs and PAs and therapists and whatnot, working with that. That's why I really like to teach this class. This is my favorite class to teach. I don't say that to all my classes, believe it or not. And that's why. Because I get to see, some of the students up there in clinic now, some of the alumni, and I think that's really great. So anyway, this class works pretty much typical for a science class. We got lecture period, that's now. This is not a huge class. Numbers are down a little bit, but that's okay. I think I got about 30 of you in each of 2 sections. We had 4 lab sections. We actually managed to cut that down to 3. So you should be enrolled for 1 lab section as part of this class. You get a grade, which is a combination of your lecture here and your lab. And that depends on your participation and quality of work, and that's going to be stuff that you do in class, and there's be some quizzes and participation, and there'll be some homework, and there'll be some exams, sorry to say, that we get going with. I just want to take a little bit, and if you grabbed it, the short version of the syllabus and schedule was over there on that countertop, but got sort of a little bit of legalese on the one side and a schedule on the other side. I don't tend to do a lot of paper handouts anymore because I put stuff online and on Moodle. So that will be really where that comes up. Okay, so first thing to say is attendance is, this is not high school. This is not points for being in your seat. You guys are paying to be here. And this hopefully relates to something that you want to actually do with your life. So you guys are the ones responsible for your schedules and making sure that you can get here on class days and things like that. You don't get credit for being here. You don't get excused for not being here, anything like that. And just about every class period has some sort of credit generating work, and that will be spread out. But you need to look at your schedule a little bit. If you know that, oh shoot, in March I have to go to my cousin's wedding and I'm going to miss a class day, that is perfectly okay, and you will be fine. In fact, I just build in a couple of freebie miss days, and that way I don't have to keep track of whether you're here, whether you're not here. It seems to work out pretty well. If you know that you're going to have to miss a whole ton, that's not going to be so good for your grade. Let me just, while we're talking about attendance and being here, a little bit about sort of classroom presence and classroom etiquette and stuff like that. This is not a huge class, which is kind of nice. I really like this setup with the tables. We'll have some things that you guys will be doing together as a group, not so much today, but as we go along. I feel perfectly fine with, and I usually have my coffee or something. I'd rather have you guys awake and have some blood sugar going in you, so if you have your granola bar or whatever, that's not going to bother me a bit. I am not terribly perturbed if your phone rings or you take a text, maybe once during class. If you do it 10 times, I will be, and I'll tell you to put it away. Probably most of you are going to want to just be pencil and paper during class time. If you do like to do notes on your computer, that's fine. Some students do that effectively, and that will not bother me particularly either. So one thing about etiquette, one thing you learn when you hang out in a hospital a lot, is that there are a lot of concerns about privacy and about, and in the hospital setting we call that HIPAA, and in education we call that FERPA, as far as being here and privacy. And I respect that about you guys, and that what sort of happens in here stays in here. Now, if you look over in the corner, Ms. Karen Moreno is standing behind a video camera. I am going to be recording this section for the whole semester. I've never done that before. The reason for that is what I'm working toward, and we're not going to do this yet, or in the next probably 6 months, but what I'd like to do is have sort of a video library as we think about maybe online classes and lectures that you can just watch instead of have to show up for. So my intent with Karen and video recording is that I just want to archive, I just want to have a video library of this stuff. So that will be going on. She is not going to be panning around in all your faces and getting up there and doing those, shots like during the football game and stuff like that. If you do have any concerns about that, stuff that you say may get picked up in the recording, and if you are worried about that, please come and talk to me about that, and we can figure that out. But I'm going to just sort of figure that most of this is going to be on me and my voice, and but just so you know, if you say something, it may get picked up on the audio recording. With that in mind, I know students once in a while do lecture recordings on your own. That is fine with me. It is polite if you let me know or let your instructor know. Make sure and do that with this class or other classes. But a lecture like this is fairly public, I think, in that way. But that's the deal with that. Since I'm going to have the video anyway, I think I know how to do this. Keep my fingers crossed. I have a YouTube account set up that I can put long videos on, and I am going to dump these on there. So I'm not sure it will be a super efficient use of your time to go back and rewatch all of them, but you guys will be my guinea pigs, my beta testers for whether this is actually even useful or not. So there's that. Let's see. So I have to give that disclaimer about recording. Karen is a former chemistry student and biology student and Spanish student and psychology student and education student, so she knows like everything about everything. So that's why I was glad to get her to help out with this. So. Okay, exams. If you look at the printed schedule on the spreadsheet side of that, there are 3 scheduled exams and then a final. If you look down at the very bottom, you see it says 10302, 11 o'clock class, that is you guys. Final exam Friday, May 1, 12:30, dead last, finals week, Friday afternoon. That is not my fault. I do not love it any more than you do, but that is your final exam. If you think you might have a conflict, particularly athletics, sometimes it's NCAAs or MIAAs for track and tennis and some other things. If that might be a conflict, I need to know about that real soon, not the week before finals. The other thing with that schedule is that's pretty firm. I do not, unless really drastic things happen, envision changing any of those during the semester term exams. So one of the things you need to look at is look at your calendar, and again, if there's an exam in March and you know that is your sister's wedding and you have to be a bridesmaid, these guys would make great looking bridesmaids over here, right? If you know that you have something, that's okay. We can figure that out. But again, I need to know that as soon as you can let me know. Okay. But that will be the schedule. Homework. There will be homework for you to do on your own. Most of that is going to be in an electronic format that I'll tell you about in a second. But that will be usually twice a week, sometimes once. A lot of the course material, again, I don't tend to do a lot of paper handouts because we have Moodle to do that for us, and this is a very Moodle-centric course. In fact, let's see here. All of you have gotten on Moodle except for Mike Armijo, Jonathan Buck. You guys need to get on Moodle and check out the class stuff for that. Pronto, if you would. I'll give you the Moodle tour in a second. Another part of this class is in-class use of these clicker things. Now, I know they use these for Bio 103, so hopefully you had one of these or could beg, borrow, or steal one from somebody. But I'm going to use these as really part of a way for me to get feedback on, well, first of all, whether you're here, but also how you're doing on picking up the material, whether things are coming across clearly or not. Different instructors use this in different ways, but I do use this for credit. So the answers that you give with your keypad to the things that come up are evaluated both for taking a shot at it and for getting it right. So that becomes part of your grade. Okay, so I need you guys to keep up with this. At some point, it may occur to you that if you don't feel like coming to class one day, you might send your clicker along with somebody else. But it's pretty easy for me to count bodies and count clickers, and if those are not equal, then that's a problem. So don't do that. one of the things I need to know is the ID number off the back of this thing. So if you have your clicker, if you flip it over, underneath the barcode, there's an ID number that I need to get from you. I don't know what that number is. Moodle doesn't know what it is. Hope College doesn't know what it is. The bookstore. I need to get that from you by tomorrow on Moodle, and I'll remind you of that. But I will need that. So anyway, let's give it a try. Just to get a quick question out there, let's see. Over Christmas break, did you go someplace warm? Did you go skiing, snowboarding? We went up to Caberfay by Cadillac up there. Weekend after Christmas, we were going to ski and Saturday, and it was like 45 degrees out and raining. I was like, no, let's not do that. So we went up in Big Rapids that day, and then the next day, Sunday, it was pretty nice. Or if you went cool places, or if you just couch potatoed it on up. So if you look up here, what this is going to do is grab your responses, and you should see that. So if I click the one that I have, that number should go up by one more. Maybe I already clicked in. Oh, there it goes. And what I can do, and I usually pull this up, is pull up the response grid. And if you look at this now, this just has a bunch of numbers, and maybe you can find your number and maybe you can't. It's not a big deal. But once you tell me what your numbers are, my computer's going to know what that is, and those will have your last name on there. Now, one of the things we can do is go ahead and click that around, and you see it changing colors. I think I must be this one down here. You can change your answer all you want, and you can make it blink, and that's kind of fun. So it does take into account the last answer that it records before I tell it to stop. So go ahead and make sure that you can maybe get some things to click and blink. Okay, you can stop now. Go ahead and pick whatever answer you feel is the right answer. And then what we can do is see what you all said. So that's kind of what's fun about it. Let's see. Wow, almost a quarter of you went. Where did you guys go that was warm? Wow, dang. Nice. And 3/4 of you sort of couch potatoed it. And is that one person who had fabulous adventures in an exotic locale? That sounds cool.
I just did that one.
You could have made up a story. Could have said I went crocodile hunting in Australia or something. Let's see. A little bit more pertinent. This class does assume a little bit of chemistry background at a high school level at least. And it helps me to know a little bit where you guys are at in terms of what classes you might have had or how many classes you might have had. So did you have like a year of high school or two or none or a college chemistry course? So we'll see how we did here. Okay, that looks about what we usually get, so that's good. How do you feel about the course? What are you thinking right now? Super easy? Super double black diamond hard, going to be impossible? And not too hard, but a lot of work. Let's see what we get here. Okay, so that's good. Super easy, one person. Don't admit that because everybody else is going to hate you for it. There's probably two people. Next to impossible, we'll hopefully work with you and get you through some of that anxiety about that. This is a little helpful for me to know. Why'd you ever sign up for this class? Nursing, there are some of the kinesiology majors. You just thought it was awesome. None of the above. I used to have Nurse Jackie on this, but I don't think that show really. This is Nurse Jackson from Red Band Society. Anybody ever watch that? I was kind of watching it for a while, and then I sort of got, really? No, I don't think so. But she was cool. Okay, let's see what we got here. As far as that goes, that usually turns out to be a lot of nursing program students. So that's kind of the design here. So, and way to go, one person who just thought it was really cool. So good for you. Alrighty, so keypads, bring them. Make sure you do bring them. If you forget yours or yours dies out or whatever, I do have some loaner ones that you can borrow, but just make sure you have it with you. Oh, one hint, if you have one of these little either the generic Hope Ecology ones or the fancy Vera Wang ones or whatever. They fit real nice just in here, and that's a good place to leave them. Moodle. Okay, so this is a pretty Moodle-heavy class. I think, and again, other than a couple of exceptions, most of you figured out how to navigate your way over there, but let me just jump to that a minute. I use it a lot. This will get really long. One of the things about Moodle, I don't really know why, but the old stuff goes on the top and the new stuff goes on the bottom. So it gets to be a lot of scrolling by the end of the semester. Oh well, you're going to have to use that mouse button. Probably won't be quite as much as what I loaded on there for this first week, but it will be quite a lot of stuff. I tend to put specific comments on here. I can email, as I did last night. I can email you out of there. And I often put maybe in PDF format. The printed documents that you have are also these two right here. And a little bit lower down, well, way at the bottom for today, what I do almost every class is before class put up some lecture notes. Typically that'll be PowerPoint, and my intent there is, can I borrow yours for a second? Thank you. My intent there is that you guys will get these before class, so you need to remember to do that. Usually I get them up by, what is late for me, like 9 or 9:30 at night, the night before. So make sure that, either later in the evening or, if you have time first thing in the morning, grab these things, print them out, 2 to a page, 4, 6, whatever you like, and bring these with you. And what my intent is that you'll use these in particular for taking notes on, and you can even go with the lines on the one side or the other side. And I think what students have found usually works pretty good is rather than have everything kind of separate, it works good if you do Alex, can I borrow yours a minute? A 3-ring binder kind of deal. No, the whole shebang. A 3-ring binder where you can kind of keep everything sort of class by class, right? Because you'll have printouts and you may have, maybe you'll want to take notes on your own paper. So my recommendation is just set yourself up with a little 3-ring binder and organize these things. Organize these things in that way. So make sure and do that before class. Did anybody other than one person have issues? Who? Madison? Oh, Madison. Okay, it was just you then. Okay, so Moodle hates Madison. Sorry, you better drop out. Transfer to Calvin College right now. There's no hope for you. So okay, that worked out okay then. So that's typically how stuff will get distributed. A couple other things on here. I need to know, again, I need that keypad number. So I often do, if I think of something that, oh gee, I should have mentioned in class, I often make a quick video of that and throw that on Moodle. Again, I'll be actually videoing the whole class, but I often toss something up for that, so you have that for your keypad. I need that back by tomorrow night. So if a lot of you have done this already, but if you haven't, get on Moodle, input your keypad number. It is technically a quiz because Moodle does not know what your keypad number is. It will think it is wrong, and it will tell you that. Don't panic. That's okay. I just need that number. Also, then on here is a link to the most expensive thing that I hope you had to buy for this class, which is an online homework system. Online homework means you're doing homework and you have to provide answers on your own, but you do that on the computer instead of on a piece of paper that you hand in. And that's nice for 2 reasons. First of all, you know right away whether you got them right or wrong. And second of all, I don't have to grade them, which I really like. But I've used this sapling system for a couple years now. And let me just show you how that works. So you had to buy, does anybody have the yellow plastic baggy thingy? Let me haul that out in a minute. Thank you. So you bought for, last year it was $29.99. This year it's $40, right? Yikes. And that $40 gave you this thing. Looks kind of like a lottery ticket or whatever. It has a little scratch-off deal. This is not a textbook, so if you decide not to take this class, right now you can go back to the bookstore and they'll give you your $40 back. If you scratch this off, you're kind of on the hook for your $40. So if you are sort of having second thoughts about, is this the right class for me, you might want to talk to me about that before you really commit. But what you need to do at some point before Monday's class is take this thing and rub off this little scratchy deal, and now we'll have an access card, and you will have to go on to Sapling and set up an account for that. Okay? Yeah.
I tried the and it like through Moodle or whatever, and it was
Okay, so let's see what happens if you just click on this very page right here. Okay, so you will get here. Did you get this far? Okay. So what I did was, did you watch my little video about it?
no, I wouldn't want to do that either.
Oh, so I got two people that Moodle doesn't like. Interesting. What, are you doing this on like your own computer or one of the college computers?
Get on my MacBook.
So try it on, so before we troubleshoot that, and I would like to have it work on the MacBook, try it on like one of the just college computer lab, library computer or something like that. Because it is, at least in the past, known to work from that. So things like, oh, what did I do? I linked that on there twice, so it doesn't matter. Online homework is here. The manual web page for Sapling is also here. So either way. So this should come up, and this will walk you through oh, it must be timed out. Okay. So this should walk you through how to do that, and just watch that video as you do it, and it should be pretty clear. One thing about Sapling is that this is not Hope College. Okay, this is Sapling lives in, I think, Austin, Texas. So when you go to this website, this is not Moodle. This is not on campus somewhere. It's like when you go to Amazon or when you go to Twitter or whatever. So that's kind of a little bit of a disclaimer. This site has no idea who you are until you tell it. Okay. So what I need is, and it's kind of on you to set that up, I need to be able to get those results. So at some point you have to put your name in there. Okay. It's easiest if you just put your name in there. You can be as identifying or non-identifying as you like. Don't put your social security number in there or your parents' credit card number in there or anything like that. So use good, sensible, web savvy when you do this, because again, this is not the college when you go to this. This is a third party site. But I do need you to, you'll register for it, and then you'll put in that access code, and then you will get to, at some point here, when you do that successfully, come on. And it should look at least something like this. And you will see listed on here homework assignments with their due dates, and I will remind you of those, but you'll want to check back. These will be due, for the most part, Mondays and Thursday nights, except like when we have exams and stuff like that. And once you get that set up, you can see that the first one that's due is January 12th, which is next Monday, which is also the Oregon and Ohio State game. So do that before the football game. Otherwise, you'll be too excited about it. And I heard a little thing this morning. So apparently there's a city in Ohio called Oregon. There's an Oregon, Ohio. Except for this week, they've officially renamed themselves the, duck beaters of the state of Ohio or something like that. So once you go there, it will be a dozen or so, a dozen or 19, whatever, questions about things that you will have to answer in a box. It may be a numerical answer or a text answer. There's even some drawing that you'll have to do. It's not phenomenally difficult. If you can figure out Yik Yak, you can figure out Sapling. I guarantee it. But it does take a little time and a little practice and a little attention. I'm okay with this if you want to work together on this, if you want to sit with a group and do this, 3 at a time or whatever, that is awesome. Because it kind of asks you different questions anyway. Okay, so that's Moodle, keypads, Sapling, etc., etc. Lab we don't really need to talk about yet. So let's see where we're at here. I think that's most of the preliminary details. We got 10 whole minutes yet to talk about chemistry. I wanted to get a little bit started on some of the topical material of the class. Before we get to talking about chemistry in terms of atoms and molecules and proteins and things like that, we need to spend a little bit of time thinking about measurements. Chemistry is what we call a quantitative science. I guess most sciences are. We measure things, we keep track of things, we report numbers, and we need to think about how and why we do that. You report measurements a lot to yourself or to somebody else when you check the time to make sure you're coming to class on time. If you go to the Dow and work out, or you're taking health diet or whatever, often there's in the men's locker room, there's an old scale with the sliders and stuff, and I stand on there and I measure my weight. I might measure, when I pump gasoline, I might measure volume. So we do measurements in everyday life. We do measurements in a clinical setting, right? Because if you're reporting vitals, temperature and blood pressure and pulse rate and stuff like that, those are all measurements. Sometimes the measurements, probably very often, the measurements are kind of automated for you. Like if you go to your doctor's office, they probably still use the pump and the little gauge and there it is. But if you go to the hospital, they slap the pump on you and the little machine reads it and all that stuff, and the little machine reads your pulse because you got the pulse oximeter. And a lot of measurements are kind of done automated for you, but you're still doing a measurement with that, and we need to think about that just a little bit. So if we make a measurement, if I tell you that I weigh 210. I was 212, but that was because of the holidays. I'll be back down to 210 in a bit. So if I tell you I weigh 210, first of all, that's a number, and you understand that that is not 210 kilograms, because that would be like 500 pounds. It's also not 210 ounces or grams or anything. That's 210 pounds, right? So there's a number, and then there's a unit, and that's sort of, if you think about it, a comparison to a standard. And a pound is actually, I think, related to a certain volume of water or something like that. So that's what we're doing when we report a measurement. So the number part, and then we compare that to some standard thing. Excuse me a sec. And whether that would be volume, whether that would be volume or time or temperature or weight, we're sort of saying, well, my weight is compared to some standard weight. Or if we measure your height and we say, okay, I'm 187 centimeters, that means that my length is compared to some standard centimeter. So we do that all the time in the clinical setting, also in chemistry, and also in regular life. And we do that to report that measurement to somebody else. We're used to doing that in things like comparing to a standard of a foot. Well, a foot is called a foot because it's the length of a guy's foot, more or less. A yard, we might measure a distance in yards, a gain of 12 yards on the football field or whatever. A yard was originally, like the distance from the king's thumb to his nose or something like that. Except then the king dies and you get a new one and he's got a shorter arm or a longer arm, so that changes. So we like to have standards in some more constant format. And that's what we're really doing when we report a measurement. Because they're both easier to work with because they're based on 10 and also more standardized, we tend to use the metric system, and that will be both in the lab and in the clinical setting. So, when somebody has a baby and they say the baby weighs 10 pounds, 2 ounces, that baby was not, the nurse really didn't measure the baby in 10 pounds, 2 ounces, right? That baby was measured as 3,728 grams or whatever, and that has to get converted. So we typically use the base 10 or metric system, where we express length in meters, or some variation thereof, centimeters or millimeters. Volume in liters, or maybe milliliters or deciliters or something like that. Mass will be grams. Temperature will be degrees Celsius probably. And again, a measurement even of a body temperature is done directly as, say, 37 degrees C, not as 98.6 Fahrenheit. So to go back to this idea of, okay, Pickard, what do you weigh? 210 what? 210 pounds. There's a number part, and then there's a unit part from whatever I use to measure that. Okay? If that's an automatic hospital scale, you just step on it, and boom, the number pops up. If you're at the Dow, you're using the slider scale. You have to read that off yourself. But either way, that is a measured number, right? And we need to be a little bit aware of when we're recording a measured number compared to an exact number. Okay, so two things. Measured number, something either you measure or that a machine measures for you, versus an exact number when you know exactly what it is. So what would be an exact number? Well, I can go over here and I can say this table has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people at it. And that is exactly 6. Okay, I can accurately count to 6 and know that this is not 5 3/4 or 6.12. It is 6 exactly. Okay, so an exact number is when you count how many people or balls or pizzas or whatever, when you count some reasonable number of things, or if you have a defined relationship. Okay, a meter is 100 centimeters. Okay, a meter is not 99.99 centimeters or 102 centimeters. It's exactly 100. Okay, so when we have a hard count or a defined relationship, we know that that is an exact number versus a number that we get when we measure it. And again, maybe that's when you measure it yourself and you have to use your eyeball. Maybe it's when it's printed out for you, but either way, those are measured numbers. And when we take a measurement, and again, I'm kind of belaboring this a little bit and spending maybe more time than you might think will be necessary because we're so used to having automated things for us. You know, an automated scale, an automated Fitbit to tell you how many calories you burned off during the day. But those things are all, whether you're doing it or the machine is doing it, are all estimated at some point. So let's say we have this green thing, whatever that is, and we're going to measure it, and we're going to measure its length in centimeters. So if we hold up our green thing and it comes to here, how long am I going to say that thing is? Well, I might just go, it's about 40 centimeters. Well, okay, but I can do better than that, right? I can look and I can say, well, I see it's 41 centimeters, and I see these little tick marks, and that's 41.0, 41.1. It's out here to the 41.5, so I can record that to the, what's that, the 10th place, right, of a centimeter. And the sneaky part is, if you look at it, I can even look close and I can eyeball that thing and say, well, wherever that green stick goes, it looks like it's going a little titch past the 41.5, and you know, it's not halfway past, so I'm going to call it 41.52. Okay, and that's the way we make a visual measurement off of something with tick marks like that. And again, a lot of times in real life we don't do that, but I want to get back to that, as we're going to call that 41.52 centimeters. And that last digit, that rightmost digit, is kind of I think it's 0.52, it might be 0.51, it might be 0.53. So there's a little uncertainty, there's a little waver in there. And those digits that we report are what we call, and I know this is everybody's least favorite thing about chemistry, mine too, but when you talk about it for a little bit, is what we call significant digits. And we need to keep track of this a little bit. Excuse me. Because we need to keep ourselves honest about how accurate our measurements are and not waste too much time with a whole bunch of digits when we don't need them. So we count significant digits in a number. The easy part is that we simply count all non-zeros. Okay, so 48.15 or 38.15, 4 significant digits, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5.6, 2 significant digits. 56.6, 1, 2, 3. Okay, this one here, 122.55, that's 5 significant digits. The hundreds place, the tens, the ones, the tenths, and the hundredths, so we would say 5. That's super easy. It gets a little tricky when you get zeros in your number. When you have a decimal number, any leading zeros or zeros out front don't count, so we don't count these. We would say that this is only one significant digit. So 0.000 something, those zeros do not count. We would say that this is 3. Okay, this would be 2. That would be 3. Zeros get a little bit tricky. We do count what are called sandwich zeros, so a zero that's in between some non-zero digits. We would count all of these, so we would say this is 3. If you say 2001 minutes, that means 2001, not 2000 and not 2002. So we consider that 4 significant digits. So we need to be able to count those guys, and we need to be able to, trailing zeros, at least to the left of a decimal point, also don't count, so we would call this 2, we would call this 1. And that seems a bit like busy work, but it does affect how we do calculations, adds and subtracts. But it is 10:50 or 11:50, I should let you guys go. We will pick this up on Friday. Couple reminders. By tomorrow, I need that keypad ID on Moodle. As soon as you feel like committing to this class, go ahead and get yourself on Sapling and set that thing up. But you don't really have to do that until Monday. Lab will be, we'll talk about that a little bit, not even Friday, but Monday or Tuesday. Okay? Otherwise, I'll see you guys on Friday.